Imagine waking up tomorrow morning with absolute certainty about one thing, that you're dead. Not feeling depressed, not feeling suicidal, actually, genuinely, completely convinced that you are a corpse. You look in the mirror and see a face that should be yours, but you know that person died. You smell the unmistakable odor of rotting flesh, your flesh. You demand that your family take you to the morgue, because obviously, that's where dead people belong. This isn't a horror movie. This isn't a Halloween campfire story. This is a real neuropsychiatric condition called Cotard Syndrome, also known as walking corpse syndrome. Let me paint you a picture. There's the documented case of a Scottish man who, after a motorcycle accident, became utterly convinced he was dead. But here's where it gets even stranger. After his discharge from the hospital in Edinburgh, his mother took him to South Africa, where he was even more convinced that he was dead and he had been taken to hell, which was reinforced by the heat there. If you're someone used to cold and dreary British weather, and then you go to the heat of South Africa, you might also think that you died and ended up in hell. Or consider the 53-year-old woman who called 911 demanding to be taken to a morgue because she smelled like rotting fish and needed to be with the other dead people. Her family watched in horror as she refused to eat because, as she explained, dead people don't need food. The first documented case is perhaps the most haunting. In 1880, French neurologist Dr. Jules Cotard described Mademoiselle X, a 43-year-old woman who denied having a brain, nerves, chest, stomach, or intestines. She believed she was already dead and condemned to eternal damnation. The tragic end? She starved herself to death, convinced that dead people have no need for food. This is the ultimate Halloween horror, not because of monsters, but because it reveals how fragile our grip on reality actually is. Your brain constructs your entire sense of self, and when specific neural pathways malfunction, that construction can collapse into the most bizarre delusion imaginable, the certainty that you don't exist. Welcome to Apprentice.io's Industry Insights. I'm Frank Maggiore, and today we're diving into one of the most fascinating and terrifying disorders in psychiatric medicine, Cotard Syndrome, the walking corpse syndrome, and what it teaches us about consciousness, neuroscience, psychiatric treatment, and pharmaceutical manufacturing. This is our Halloween special, and nothing is more chilling than the real-life nightmare of believing you're already dead. But here's the twist. Unlike most horror stories, this one has a happy ending. Modern medicine has cracked the code on treating this condition, and patients who were convinced that they were corpses are now living full and healthy lives. So what exactly is Cotard Syndrome? It's characterized by nihilistic delusions, specifically delusions of negation, where patients deny their own existence or fundamental aspects of their body. The core feature is the delusional belief that one is dead, dying, doesn't exist, or has lost body parts or organs. Here's where it gets weird. Approximately 69% of patients deny their own existence, but about 55% simultaneously claim they're immortal. Some patients hold both beliefs at the same time. They believe that they're dead, and they believe that they can't die. The human brain is capable of some truly spectacular contradictions. The syndrome typically progresses through 3 distinct stages. Stage 1, germination. This prodromal phase involves depression, hypochondriasis, and abnormal bodily sensations. Patients complain that their organs feel strange, that something is fundamentally wrong inside their body. They're not yet claiming to be dead, but the seeds are germinating. Many are misdiagnosed with simple hypochondriasis. Stage 2, blooming. Full-blown delusions of negation appear. My stomach is gone. I have no blood. I'm dead. I don't exist. These aren't metaphors. Patients genuinely believe these things with absolute certainty. The stage includes intense anxiety, guilt, and complete withdrawal from the world. Stage 3, chronic. This splits into 2 types. The depressive type, with ongoing severe depression and persistent delusions, and the paranoid type, with systematized delusions but less prominent depression. The clinical presentation ranges from mild, believing you've lost a specific organ, to severe. Some patients attempt to dispose of their bodies using acid. Others refuse all food and water, leading to dangerous malnutrition. Who gets this? It's a very rare condition with around 300 cases documented worldwide, most commonly in middle-aged to older adults between ages 50 to 60, though cases occur across all ages. About 89% show significant depressive symptoms. It also appears in schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and following traumatic brain injuries, strokes, brain tumors, and neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. Perhaps most disturbing, Cotard himself noted that many patients show insensitivity to pain, what neurologists call analgesia. The brain regions processing the emotional component of pain, particularly in the anterior cingulate cortex, become dysfunctional. So even if patients physically injure themselves, and tragically, self-harm is not uncommon, the pain doesn't snap them back to reality. The delusion is so complete that they might feel sensations, but attribute them to my dead body rotting rather than recognizing them as proof of life. The brain's gaslighting of itself is horrifyingly total. This is genuinely one of the most disturbing aspects of this syndrome, the complete failure of basic biological feedback mechanisms to correct the delusion. Here's a modern twist. We're seeing cases following COVID-19 infections. Previously healthy individuals are developing Cotard's delusions after recovering from COVID-19, suggesting viral infections affecting the brain can trigger the condition. The syndrome shares neurological features with Cotard Syndrome, where patients believe loved ones have been replaced by imposters. Some patients transition between the two conditions, revealing their different manifestations of similar neural pathway disruptions. The human impact is devastating. Imagine telling your family that you're dead and being unable to accept their desperate attempts to convince you otherwise. But here's the crucial message. This condition is treatable. Patients can and do recover completely. So, how does the human brain create this bizarre delusion? The neuroscience is fascinating. In normal face recognition, visual information enters your occipital lobe, flows to the fusiform gyrus, specifically the fusiform face area, which identifies faces and then connects them with the amygdala, which attaches emotional significance to them. When you see a loved one or your own reflection, your amygdala creates that feeling of familiarity and emotional connection. Regions like the posterior cingulate cortex and medial prefrontal cortex integrate visual recognition with personal knowledge and emotional responses. In Cotard Syndrome, there's a disconnection between these systems. The fusiform face area might still recognize faces visually, but it's disconnected from the limbic system, particularly the amygdala. When patients look in the mirror, their brain processes, I see a face, but there's no emotional response, no feeling that this face is me. This creates profound cognitive dissonance. The brain tries to resolve contradictory information. It receives visual input. There's a face that looks like mine, but no emotional confirmation. This doesn't feel like me at all. The brain's explanation, I must be dead. That explains why I see my body, but don't feel connected to it. Brain imaging reveals specific abnormalities. SPECT and PET scans show hypometabolism, reduced activity in the left temporal lobe, frontal lobes, parietal lobes, and crucially, the posterior cingulate cortex, which is central to self-awareness. Some studies show actual structural changes, brain atrophy in frontal and temporal regions, with enlarged ventricles suggesting neurodegenerations. The Cotard connection is revealing. In Cotard, the disconnection is specific to facial recognition. You recognize your spouse's face, but don't feel emotional connection, so you conclude they're an imposter. In Cotards, the disconnection is global. The entire limbic system becomes disconnected from sensory processing, creating complete lack of emotional contact with the world, including your own body. This is supported by patients transitioning between syndromes. As a Cotards patient recovers, they might temporarily develop Cotard delusions before returning fully to reality. There's a two-hit hypothesis. The first hit is the neural pathway disruption, fusiform disconnecting from amygdala. This creates the bizarre perceptual experience. The second hit is dysfunction in the brain's belief evaluation system. The right frontal cortex, particularly the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, is involved in reality monitoring. When this is also impaired, bizarre perceptions go unchallenged. The brain accepts the delusional explanation because it lacks capacity to reject it. This explains why not everyone with depression or brain injury develops Cotards. You need both the perceptual abnormality and the reality monitoring failure. So what does this mean for treatment? We need to address both the underlying cause and restore neural connections. We need to reconnect face recognition with emotional processing and restore the brain's reality testing abilities. Understanding these mechanisms allows targeted treatment selection. Historically, Cotard Syndrome was extremely difficult to treat. Traditional antidepressants alone often failed. Antipsychotics alone were inconsistent. But in recent years, we're seeing a paradigm shift towards targeting specific neural pathways based on neuroscience understanding. A breakthrough reported in 2024 is getting significant attention. Researchers documented multiple cases where a specific combination achieved complete resolution within 3 weeks. Olanzapine plus fluoxetine. Let me share a case. A 66-year-old male veteran with no psychiatric history developed nihilistic delusions. Started on olanzapine, 10 milligrams daily, and fluoxetine, 20 milligrams daily, titrated to 40 milligrams. Within 1 week, significant improvement in mood, functioning, insight, and judgment. Within 3 weeks, complete resolution. At 15-month follow-up, symptom-free. Another case, a 70-year-old male developed severe nihilistic delusions, including beliefs of divine punishment. Same combination, within 3 weeks, complete resolution. Remains symptom-free with no side effects. But why does this work? It addresses both hits in the two-hit hypothesis. Olanzapine, the antipsychotic, works on dopamine and serotonin receptors, restoring reality testing abilities, addressing the impaired belief evaluation. Fluoxetine, the SSRI, addresses underlying depression and helps restore emotional processing, addressing the perception-emotion disconnection. Together, they create synergistic effects, reconnecting disrupted neural pathways between the fusiform face area, amygdala, and prefrontal cortex. Electroconvulsive therapy, ECT, remains the gold standard for treatment-resistant cases. A Japanese meta-analysis of 130 Cotard Syndrome cases found that electroconvulsive therapy, ECT, was used as a treatment option in approximately 22% of cases and has shown significant effectiveness in treatment-resistant cases where pharmacotherapy has failed. Modern electroconvulsive therapy is performed under anesthesia and is remarkably safe. Brain imaging shows why electroconvulsive therapy works. SPECT scans post-treatment show enhanced blood flow and metabolic activity in previously hypometabolic regions, left temporal, frontal, and parietal lobes. Electroconvulsive therapy appears to jumpstart underactive brain regions, restoring normal function through neurochemical changes, including increased brain-derived neurotropic factor. Other combinations show promise: risperidone plus fluoxetine, aripiprazole in younger patients with first episode psychosis, and dopamine agonists like pramipexole for treatment-resistant cases. This represents precision psychiatry instead of trial and error, where selecting medications targeting specific disrupted circuits. The olanzapine fluoxetine combination works because it targets both problems simultaneously. Treatment responses are faster than traditional psychiatry. Patients show significant improvements within days to weeks rather than months. And successful treatment completely resolves the condition. Patients return fully to reality, recognize the delusion as illness, resume their normal lives, and reconnect with families. Early intervention matters tremendously. Catching the syndrome in germination stage allows for faster recovery. This means training providers to recognize early warning signs before full-blown delusions develop. The bottom line, we can treat this. We can bring people back from believing they're dead. That's not just a medical achievement, it's a human triumph. Let's talk about something critical that doesn't usually make it into psychiatric care discussions. How do we safely manufacture these life-saving medications? Because psychiatric pharmaceuticals present unique challenges, particularly around operator safety and regulatory compliance. Here's what most people don't realize. The medications treating Cotard Syndrome, olanzapine, fluoxetine, and other psychiatric drugs are highly psychoactive substances. During manufacturing, operators can potentially be exposed to these compounds through inhalation of powders, skin contact, or environmental contamination. We're talking about substances that profoundly affect brain chemistry at therapeutic doses. Unintended exposure during manufacturing could pose serious health risks to the workers. This means pharmaceutical manufacturers must implement strict containment protocols. We're talking about closed system processing, negative pressure environments, specialized personal protective equipment, continuous air monitoring, and rigorous cleaning validation between product runs. Workers handling these materials need training on specific hazards and protection requirements. But containment is just part of the story. Psychiatric medications are classified as controlled or highly regulated substances, meaning there are strict protocols for handling the active pharmaceutical ingredients. Many psychiatric drugs fall under DEA scheduling or equivalent international regulations. The raw materials, the APIs, must be stored in secured, access-controlled areas. Only authorized personnel can handle them. Every gram must be accounted for. This is where cloud-based manufacturing execution systems like Apprentice.io's Temple platform become absolutely essential. Think about the workflow. When a batch of olanzapine needs to be manufactured, the system controls every step. The MES tracks exactly how much API is required for the batch. It generates electronic documentation authorizing specific quantities to be withdrawn from secure storage. Only personnel with proper credentials can access the locked storage areas, and the system logs who access what material, when, and in what quantity. As manufacturing proceeds, the system continuously tracks material usage. If 5 kilograms of API were dispensed, but only 4.8 kilograms went into the batch, the system requires reconciliation. Where did the rest of that material go? This isn't just good manufacturing practice, it's regulatory compliance and theft prevention for powerful psychoactive substances. The MES also manages containment verification. Before operators begin handling psychoactive materials, the system confirms that containment systems are functioning, negative pressure verified, air monitoring active, cleaning validation current. If any safety system is compromised, the system can prevent production from proceeding. Real-time monitoring extends to operator exposure. Some facilities integrate personal air monitoring devices with the MES. If an operator's exposure approaches limits, the system alerts supervisors and can require enhanced containment measures or rotation of personnel. For quality assurance, psychiatric medications require extensive testing, potency assays, dissolution testing, stability testing, and purity analysis. The MES manages the entire quality workflow, automatically preventing release of non-conforming product. For ultra-rare conditions like Cotards, you can't afford quality failures that might interrupt treatment for critically ill patients. Batch genealogy and traceability are also crucial. The system maintains complete records, which specific lot of API was used, environmental conditions during manufacturing, which operators were involved, and all quality test results. If there's ever a quality issue, you can immediately identify affected batches and notify patients. There's also regulatory audit readiness. Psychiatric medications are heavily regulated. FDA and EMA inspections require extensive documentation of manufacturing processes, material controls, personnel training, and facility conditions. Cloud-based systems maintain electronic batch records, automatically capture data, generate compliance reports, and provide audit trails that regulators can review. The security dimension extends beyond physical containment. Cybersecurity is critical when dealing with controlled substances. Cloud-based platforms implement role-based access controls, encrypted data transmission, comprehensive audit logging, and intrusion detection. The system knows who accessed what information, when, and from where, critical for preventing diversion or tampering with controlled substance records. For combination therapies like olanzapine and fluoxetine, manufacturers must coordinate multiple product lines, each with its own containment requirements, API controls, and quality specifications. Cloud-based MES provides unified visibility across operations while maintaining the distinct protocols for each product. The bottom line? Breakthrough treatments for Cotard Syndrome depends on safely and reliably manufacturing powerful psychoactive medications. Sophisticated cloud-based manufacturing execution systems protect workers from exposure, prevent diversion of controlled substances, ensure regulatory compliance, and maintain the quality standards that patients depend on. That's how pharmaceutical manufacturing excellence connects to psychiatric breakthroughs, ensuring that when a patient needs that life-changing medication, it's available, it's safe, it's high quality, and it was manufactured with appropriate protections for the workers who made it possible. What's happening right now at the frontier of Cotard Syndrome research? Let me walk you through the most exciting developments, plus emerging technologies that will transform treatment in the coming years. For current pharmacological advances, the olanzapine-fluoxetine combination I mentioned isn't just a one-off success. Multiple independent case reports confirm its effectiveness. We're seeing consistent patterns, rapid response within a week, substantial improvement within 2 weeks, complete resolution within 3 to 4 weeks across different patient populations and healthcare settings. But researchers are exploring other combinations. Risperidone combined with SSRIs are also showing promise. Aripiprazole has achieved impressive results in younger patients with first episode psychosis presenting with Cotard features. What's interesting about aripiprazole is its unique mechanism. It partially stimulates rather than blocks dopamine receptors, allowing more fine-tuned circuit modulation. Dopamine agonist augmentation therapy using pramipexole, typically a Parkinson's medication, as an add-on to antidepressants, works in treatment-resistant cases. This challenges the assumption that dopamine blockade is always necessary for psychotic symptoms. For electroconvulsive therapy monitorization, modern protocols use ultra-brief pulses of ECT, delivering electrical stimulus in shorter pulses to reduce cognitive side effects while maintaining efficacy. Precision electrode placement, unilateral versus bilateral, targets relevant brain regions while minimizing memory impact. By utilizing maintenance electroconvulsive therapy, periodic treatments after an acute series prevents relapse, allowing for patients to live normally between treatments. Brain imaging increasingly guides electroconvulsive therapy protocols. SPECT or PET scans can identify which regions show severe hypometabolism, and electrode placement is adjusted to target those areas specifically. Post-treatment scans document restoration of normal activity, providing objective recovery evidence. For improving the diagnostic recognition, many clinicians have never encountered Cotards before, leading to frequent misdiagnosis. Patients with hypochondriacal symptoms might be dismissed as having health anxiety, delaying proper treatment for months or even years. Recent efforts focus on training providers to recognize the germination stage constellation, prodromal depression with excessive health concerns, and bizarre bodily sensations, allowing for earlier interventions. For post-COVID psychiatric manifestations, multiple reports document previously healthy individuals developing major depression with psychotic features, including Cotard's delusions, after COVID-19 infection. This raises important questions about virus-induced psychiatric conditions. Is COVID directly damaging brain regions involved in self-recognition? Is it triggering immune inflammatory responses affecting neural function? These questions are driving new research into infectious disease, psychiatric disorder relationships. The good news? Post-COVID Cotard cases respond well to standard treatments. Sertraline and olanzapine combinations have successfully treated documented cases with full recovery. For near-future technologies, medical devices like transcranial magnetic stimulation represents a major near-term advance. TMS uses magnetic fields to stimulate specific brain regions non-invasively, no anesthesia, an outpatient procedure, and all with minimal side effects. While ECT remains more powerful for severe cases, TMS might work for milder presentations or maintenance treatments. Clinical trials for TMS protocols, specifically designed for delusional disorders, are likely within the next few years. Biomarker development is becoming a reality. Blood tests measuring inflammatory markers, neurotransmitter metabolites, or specific proteins associated with neural pathway dysfunctions could enable early diagnosis, predict risk, and monitor treatment response objectively. Genetic profiling for treatment selection is also advancing. Pharmacogenetic testing could help guide optimal medication selection and dosing from the start, rather than just using trial and error. Advanced brain imaging will increasingly guide treatment planning. Within a few years, we'll likely see protocols where baseline SPECT or PET scans identify which brain regions show the most dysfunction, and treatment plans are customized accordingly. Patients with severe frontal hypometabolism might get electroconvulsive therapy, ECT, while those with preserved frontal function but temporal dysfunction get targeted medication combinations. Wearable technology and remote monitoring are emerging tools. Imagine a recovering Cotards patient wearing a device, monitoring sleep patterns, activity levels, and physiological markers of mood. If early warning signs of relapse appear, disrupted sleep, decreased activity, indicators of depression, the system alerts the treatment team for early intervention before full relapse. AI-driven decision support systems can analyze patterns in symptoms, brain imaging, genetic data, and treatment responses across thousands of cases to predict optimal approaches for new patients. A clinician could input a patient's presentation and receive evidence-based recommendations. Based on similar cases, this patient has an 85% probability of responding to olanzapine fluoxetine combination. Should show improvements within 2 weeks if the treatment is effective. For the longer-term vision, neural pathway restoration through direct brain stimulation is a real possibility as we continue to map the human brain connectome. We might develop targeted deep brain stimulation protocols that literally reconnect the fusiform face area with the amygdala. Instead of medications broadly affecting neurotransmitter systems, electrical stimulation could restore specific disrupted circuits using implanted devices similar to those used for Parkinson's disease. Novel therapeutic targets will emerge as neuroscience advances. We'll design medications targeting very specific receptors, ion channels, or signaling pathways involved in face emotion connectivity and self-recognition. These designer medications might be more effective with fewer side effects than current drugs. Prevention strategies might become possible once we understand the risk factors better. If we can identify high-risk individuals, genetic predisposition, plus depression history, plus specific brain imaging findings, we might intervene before Cotards develop through preventative medications, cognitive interventions, or lifestyle modifications. For cross-disorder insights, research on Cotards is informing understanding of schizophrenia, psychotic depression, and other delusional disorders. The two-hit hypothesis helps explain how delusions form and persist across conditions, suggesting treatment strategies applicable broadly. For the manufacturing implications, as treatments become more personalized, pharmaceutical manufacturing needs unprecedented flexibility. Cloud-based manufacturing execution systems are essential for managing patient-specific formulations, real-time quality monitoring, and coordinated delivery. Future treatment might involve uploading a patient's brain scan and genetic profile to secure cloud systems. AI analysis designing custom medication formulations and automated pharmaceutical facilities, compounding, testing, and shipping within 24 hours. We might also see a convergence of pharmaceutical and digital therapeutics, medication plus virtual reality cognitive therapy, app-based mood monitoring, AI-driven behavioral interventions, all coordinated through integrated health platforms. The trajectory is clear. Cotard Syndrome is transforming from a mysterious, frightening condition to a fully understood, readily treatable disorder. Within our lifetimes, we might develop tools to prevent it entirely. Insights from Cotards are already revolutionizing treatment of all psychiatric conditions, moving towards circuit-level understanding and precision treatment. This is not just medical progress, it's human ingenuity, scientific advancement, and commitment to alleviating suffering. The walking corpse syndrome, terrifying as it is teaching profound lessons about the brain, consciousness, and reality itself. Let's bring this journey home. We started in horror, imagining waking up, convinced that you're dead. We explored the neuroscience, breakthrough treatments, and manufacturing systems that make those treatments possible. Now, the most important message, hope. Here's the fundamental truth. Nearly every patient who receives appropriate treatment achieves full recovery. People who were absolutely convinced that they were dead return fully to life. Let me share what recovery looks like. That 53-year-old woman who demanded to go to the morgue, after treatment, she recovered completely and could recognize what happened. I genuinely believed that I was dead. It felt absolutely real, but it was a symptom of the illness. That insight is protective against reoccurrence. That 66-year-old veteran with nihilistic delusions, within 3 weeks, complete resolution. 15 months later, symptom-free, living his life back with his family. The young woman with post-COVID Cotards who thought her organs were liquefying, full recovery, returned to studies, reconnecting with friends, resuming normal life. These aren't isolated cases. This represents what happens when Cotards is properly treated. The transformation is profound. Patients literally go from death to life. Recovery means families reunited. Imagine your loved one who insisted they were dead, suddenly looking at you with recognition and connection. It means patients reclaiming their identities, looking in the mirror and feeling, yes, that's me. It means returning to work, resuming hobbies, enjoying food again, experiencing the world as real and meaningful. Many recovered patients develop profound appreciation for existence itself. When you've experienced believing that you don't exist, and then you're restored to full awareness, you don't take things for granted. There's a depth of gratitude for simply being alive. And here's the key takeaways. For healthcare providers, learn to recognize this syndrome. When patients present with depression, hypochondriasis, and strange somatic complaints, consider germination stage of Cotards. Early recognition allows for faster recovery. Try evidence-based combinations like olazapine and fluoxetine for appropriate patients. Advocate for ECT when needed. It's highly effective, not a last resort. For pharmaceutical manufacturers, your work is literally life-saving. Quality manufacturing, reliable supply chains, and sophisticated quality systems directly impact whether patients recover. Cloud-based manufacturing execution systems aren't just efficient tools. They're enablers of consistent production that ensures every patient gets dependable medications. They protect workers from psychoactive substance exposure and ensure controlled substance security. Embrace technology allowing for flexibility, responsiveness, and precision. Support research even for rare conditions. They might illuminate pathways to treating more common conditions. And for families dealing with delusional disorders, you're not alone. What you're experiencing is real and frightening. These are medical conditions from brain dysfunctions, not character flaws. Treatment works. Don't give up hope. With appropriate psychiatric care, most patients fully recover. Advocate for comprehensive evaluation and evidence-based treatments. Take care of yourselves. Seek support through family therapy, support groups, or counseling. For society more broadly, support psychiatric research. Rare conditions like Cotards can teach fundamental lessons benefiting everyone. Insights inform treatment of depression, schizophrenia, and common conditions affecting millions. Help reduce the stigma. Psychiatric conditions are medical disorders, not character failures. Understanding this increases the likelihood of people seeking help early when treatment is most effective. This is our Halloween episode, and yes, Cotard Syndrome is genuinely horrifying. Being trapped in your body, convinced that you're dead, unable to connect with reality or loved ones. It's horror that's real, not fictional. But here's the twist. This horror has a cure. We understand the neuroscience. We have effective treatments. We manufacture medications reliably. Patients recover fully, completely, returning from psychological death to a vibrant life. That's not horror, that's triumph. It's human ingenuity conquering one of the brain's most bizarre malfunctions. It's pharmaceutical science, clinical excellence, and manufacturing precision working together to achieve something miraculous, restoring people to themselves. This Halloween, while we enjoy fictional zombies and The Walking Dead, remember that real medical science confronts genuine horrors and wins. Cotard Syndrome patients are the actual Walking Dead in the neuropsychological sense. Alive, but convinced otherwise. But thanks to breakthrough treatments, advanced neuroscience, and reliable pharmaceutical manufacturing powered by platforms like the Tempo Manufacturing Cloud, these patients return to life. They wake from the ultimate nightmare. They're not walking corpses, they're living humans, reconnected with reality, families, and themselves. That's not horror, that's hope. That's the power of modern medicine, backed by manufacturing excellence that brings treatments from discoveries to life-changing realities. In an industry where precision and compliance are paramount, Apprentice's Tempo platform offers a cutting-edge manufacturing execution system solution. It's cloud-based, mobile-first, operator-centric, with the most intuitive UI in the industry, making it perfect for today's dynamic pharmaceutical manufacturing environments and for the production of the world's most complex drug products. Whether you're working on groundbreaking cell and gene therapies, biologics, or small molecules, Tempo provides a fully validated MES system that's both powerful and easy to use. It streamlines your processes, ensures compliance, and adapts to your specific manufacturing needs. So get off of paper batch records and discover how Apprentice's Tempo Manufacturing Cloud can transform your operations by visiting us at apprentice.io. Attention industry professionals, revolutionize your manufacturing process with the Apprentice Tempo Manufacturing Cloud, a manufacturing execution system built to streamline your operations, boost efficiency, and ensure compliance all in one powerful platform. Experience the future of manufacturing with our free 30-day trial. Scan the QR code on your screen now to unlock a world of innovation. Don't just keep pace, set the tempo as an industry leader with Apprentice. That's all for Apprentice.io's Industry Insights. I'm Frank Maggiore. Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for notifications when new episodes drop. Please comment on if you have any additional topics you would like for me to cover in this space, and we'll see you next week for more Industry Insights. Happy Halloween, everyone, and here's to the medical professionals, the researchers, and the pharmaceutical manufacturers who help turn horror stories into recovery stories every day.